Hello, hello.
Mom, I'm going live.
I am Skylar.
I'll talk to you later.
Okay. How are you guys? Okay, so I'm just hopping on here for a second, but I haven't been doing the tip of the week, and normally I do. So I wanted to hop on. I just got out of a mediation, and I wanted to talk to you about a tip of the week that I think is something really important for you all to hear about and to think about, because it's something that's missed a lot, that is in a lot of evaluations, and it's sometimes not associated with what the real problem is. Okay? So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Raven Woods. I'm the CEO and founder of Autism Mama Rocks, the IEP, and I help parents gain the knowledge and the confidence to become the CEO of their IEP meeting. Hi, Erin. Hey, Christina. Haven't seen you in a while, Christina. So here's the thing, guys, here's your tip, all right? Look in your IEPs, look in your child's IEPs. Look in the last 2, maybe 3 years. You should be keeping your child's IEP like you do taxes, all right? Some people say 5 years, some people say more. No, all right? With taxes, I'm assuming it's 5 years. I think it's 5 years. Your IEP, you want to keep 5 years, all right? Worst case, 4 years. Even if in due process, okay, say you went to due process, you can only go back 2 years. There are times where people have gone back more, okay? So you can go back even further if you request that of a due process hearing officer and say that, hey, I requested records, data, or anything else, service logs from the school system, and they failed to provide it to me. So there's 2 reasons in which a school system or a hearing officer can consider giving you extra time. And the first reason is if the school system promises you something that they didn't fulfill, okay? And the second thing is if you requested documentation that would have told you something where you would have taken action. For example, if you requested records or service logs from service providers, or thank you for sharing, or if you've requested even assessments, say they didn't provide you assessments, then you could then say, hey, had I had this, then I would have been able to advocate for my child and known that they were so far behind, whatever it is that you're trying to get to the bottom of. Okay? So that's kind of the history on time frames, if you will. All right, so going back to your tip, I want you to go and look at your child's records or their IEPs or their last evaluations. And I want you to go back 3 years. And I want you to look and see if anywhere in those documents your child has had working memory issues. Okay? Do they have, I'm going to pull up a evaluation. All right. So if your child's had working memory issues, the 3 concerns that it focuses on is written expression, math, and reading. So if your child struggles in math, written expression, and reading, then more than likely they have working memory issues. So you have to make sure that you get the type of services and accommodations in place for them immediately. Because if you don't, they're going to continue to regress, all right, in those areas, which they're the most important areas, right? So math and reading are number 1, and being able, written expression is a number 2 for me, at least. You got to look at what's important for you. At the end of the day, when your child graduates, what do you want them to know? And I want my child, just to give you an example of things to think about, I want her to know basic math, addition, subtraction, multiplication, simple division, fractions, things like that will help her in everyday life. And of course, we all use our phones and everything else like that now, but we still, as adults, have that basic, math concept, all right? Do I care if she uses algebra or knows algebra or geometry? No, I don't even remember algebra. Does anybody else? I know I don't. But I've never used it. So do I care if she learns it? No. So you have to think ahead, because at the end of the day, that's what an IEP is for, is to get your child to be able to acclimate and adjust and be a member of society in the best way they possibly can. Okay? So working memory is the small amount of information that can be held in the mind and used in the execution of cognitive tasks. In contrast with long-term memory, the vast amount of information saved in one's life. Okay? So that's kind of an introduction of what working memory is, and it facilitates planning, comprehension, reasoning, and problem solving. So think about how much of your life, okay, is surrounded around planning, is surrounded around comprehending what it is that you hear, what you see, all right, what you feel, all right, reasoning, being able to be like me, no, I'm just kidding, analytical, to be able to think about things and to ponder on them, and then be able to problem solve, what you have to learn to do in an IEP. So these are daily living skills that we want our children to learn. And these are some of the areas where it is very limited. You'll see on evaluations where it'll say significantly low, below average, all of these things. Sometimes you will hear from evaluators or the school system, oh, we're working on it. We have accommodations in place. We have, the organizational binders, and we have all these different things. Well, working memory isn't always necessarily being organized. All right. It's not necessarily, which I'm for that, being organized. I'm all for, the organization of, color coding. I love doing that. I do it for myself. I did it when I taught. And, it's important to have that organization. And a lot of kids do well with that. If you have math and it's pink, and, in the dividers, you have, science and it's green, that is a visual for children. And many of us are visual. Okay. That's why data now must be visual. It must be something that we see, because it helps us to then be able, and the school system, to then establish the proper plan of action and individual education plan for our children. Okay? So think about, we're going to talk more about working memory, and I'm going to lead this into the series of reading. All right? But I want you to think about working memory, how it is affecting your child's cognitive development, how it is affecting their learning, and how it is affecting their education. I totally forgot to do this, guys, but if you're new to watching me live, post a 1 below. If you're new, first through third time catching me live. If you're catching the replay, post a 1 below as well. If you are new and catching me live for the first through third time. If you're an oldie but goodie, post a 2 below, like Christina and Tess and Erin here. Okay? Make sure you say hello. And just think about it for a second. We're going to talk more about this tomorrow. I'm going to go more in depth in content tomorrow in what working memory is, what it does, what the benefits of it being a productive thing that your child learns, and why it is so imperative for them to as much perfect it as possible. And really just progress in it. If it's a deficit, it has to be something focused on. It will affect your child in every single area of academics. Every single area. All right? Do not let schools downplay the fact that it is that important, and that they're just providing accommodations to kind of appease you. It's something that needs immediate attention. And it's something that needs to be well thought about as to what you believe to be the most proficient way to solve the problem, to make it better, to have progress happen. All right. So it's super important to understand what working memory is. We're going to talk more about it in depth tomorrow. But I want you to go, if you will, and accept this challenge and go look at your last 2 IEPs if you don't want to look at 3. Look in the present levels. See if working memory is an issue. Look at your last evaluations. Hopefully you had a good, thorough evaluation. This is a 51-page, one of the most thorough evaluations I've ever seen in my life. Ever. And I'll go over this. It's actually something I'm going to be going over in one of my courses that I'm doing recently, but I'm not here to talk about that. I just want you to know that to have really good present levels and to have really good a really good outline of where your child is, you have to have one hell of a evaluation. And you have to be able to look at all aspects of the child, not just one. Not just hone in on, oh, we need to look at speech. Oh, we need to look at cognitive development. Oh, we need to look at reading. You want to look at the whole picture. When you have a whole picture of something, you're able to dissect why certain areas are affecting the other. You know, I always joke around and say I have the weirdest, craziest analogies in the world. I think I crack my own self up when it comes to analogies, but here's a good one. All right? You have to look at education like you do the body. Let me give you an example. Hear me out here. This is a good one, guys. It's a really good analogy, I'm telling you. Okay, so within the body, if you've ever experienced pain, okay? I've actually had back surgery, so believe me, I have had pain. And still ongoing sometimes. So if you've ever experienced pain or been to an orthopedic doctor for aches, pains, etc., then you know that if something is hurting down your arm, let's just say down your arm, you're having pain radiate down your arm, you're like, what is wrong with my arm? I bet you the problem is not your arm. It's probably your shoulder, your rotator cuff, all of those things. Why? Because the body, one part of the body is connected to the other and it radiates. All right. And one side will compensate for another. All right. So your left side could be the worst side, but the right side is the one that hurts the most because it's compensating. The same thing with education, truly. So what I mean by that is the cognitive deficit that your child may have. Hey, how are you, Cindy and Jessica and Lori and Kim? So the cognitive deficit is kind of the main aspect. And then all of these other things stem off of that. Okay? So you have working memory, you have visual memory, you have auditory memory, processing. You have all these different things that are surrounded and encompass your child's cognitive ability. Okay? So it's not just, oh, well, they can't learn. Have you ever heard that before? Oh, well, they haven't made progress because they can't learn anymore. That's not true. You have to figure out, just like you do with the body when you have pain, it may not be your sciatic nerve, you know, or let's just say it is, all right? Usually when your sciatic nerve is hurting and you're in pain, your lower back will start hurting initially. Then it'll start radiating down one of your legs, whichever side is affected. And then it can even go into your foot. Well, the same thing with education. This sounds crazy, but it's true. Okay, so your child may be behind in reading, all right? But what's causing that, all right? Is it the child has dyslexia? Is it the child has, cognitive issues along with the working memory, which is a cognitive issue, visual memory? What is going on that's creating this huge deficit in reading? Is it that the fact that they are not being taught in the right way? The right methodology isn't being used that is effective and in a way that they will learn. Is they're being taught in a way that they're willing to learn or able to learn. So a lot of the deficits that your child could have when it comes to their cognitive and mental capacity, some people will say, oh, their IQ, their ability, the evaluations like the KTEA, the WISC-5, the Wyatt, all of those measure what? Cognitive ability along with other things. All right. Most of them are a good, overview, but not expanded overview. That's why you need other assessments on top of those. But you have to look at if there's working memory issues, there's always going to be cognitive issues. If there's working memory issues, there's always going to be reading issues and comprehension issues. And if you have working memory issues, you're going to have math concerns and deficits, and they're going to be behind. If you have working memory issues, your child is going to most likely struggle with written expression. Okay? All areas of importance. All right? And they all what? Stem from working memory. The working memory is the big piece of the puzzle, and you have all these different areas that stem off of it. Okay? So, and working memory is that big issue of the cognitive deficit that is affecting the child. All right? So look at your IEPs, see what's there, see what information you're able to obtain from it. What do the evaluations say in regards to working memory? Are there scores? In this child's evaluation, there are multiple scores in areas of working memory and areas of where the cognitive level is low and why. It's very detailed as to visual memory and how he was very low and different things in reference to that. There's sequential memory, visual figure ground, visual closure, spatial relationships. There's things that go with visual memory that are underneath of it, all right, that have deficits there. Same thing with auditory processing. There's things under that. The same thing with working memory, okay? So memory can cause so many issues because if you're not retaining what it is you are hearing, then learning is not going to happen. There's an inability for that to happen. So what has to happen? But it can't be blamed on the fact that they can't learn. Why? Because there's a solution to improving working memory. But the solution has to be what is scientifically based, and it has to be research-based of what is going to work and how. So each child who has working memory issues may improve with different types of things. So how my child may improve may not be the way your child improves, because there's multiple different ways in which to improve working memory. So I want you guys to look at that. I want you to look at if your child has working memory issues, and what does the evaluations or your IEP present level say? And when you find that out, figure out, is there enough information given to you? Is it provided where in a way that you understand fully that your child has working memory issues and these are the reasons why? And if not, why isn't it written like that? Why isn't it written in a way that you can understand why your child has working memory issues? What caused it? What are the concerns? Where are the deficits? What is it affecting? Start looking at that. We're going to expand on this, like I said, tomorrow, but I want you to look at that and really see where the issue is. If you cannot come up with what the issue is, meaning it's not written in a way that with sufficiency and clarity, then that's a problem too, because you have to know where the problem's coming from in order to resolve it, right? So we need to talk about this more, because I've seen more and more working memory issues over and over again, and school systems being opposed to addressing it. And I'm trying to figure out why. And one of the main reasons I can tell you is because working memory, visual memory, spatial concepts, really the main thing is the fact that all of those concerns create huge deficits in the top subjects that your child has to learn. And those supports are not easy to provide by school systems. For example, reading. Let's just talk about reading for a second. You know that's my favorite subject. Reading, what do you have to have? Intervention, direct instruction. All of these things come into play when you have more severe reading deficits. It's not just the teacher provides it. You're talking about above and beyond that at this point. Schools don't like that. The next thing, math concerns. Same thing, math intervention. Or start off with direct one-to-one instruction. Bottom line, what is that doing? It's taking the child out of their gen ed class or wherever they're at, and they have to provide someone to then deliver that information with a direct instruction. Schools don't like to do that. Now take written expression. All right, same thing. So all the areas that working memory affects inconveniences the district. And that's why you'll probably see the opposition there of wanting to fix the problem and hitting it head on, which is what they should do. And I'm seeing more and more that that's not happening. And it's frustrating because you have kids that are suffering and they're struggling, and you have what working memory is and how it affects a child in every area of academics. Again, specifically with reading, written expression, and math. And so you're going to an IEP meeting, you're really wanting this to be addressed. You've maybe researched, what is supposed to help. You're going after it, you're talking about it, you're advocating for it, and you leave with nothing. So ponder on that for a second, all right? Post below if your child has working memory issues. Tell me, what are the concerns? Does your child have working memory? What are the deficits? How do you know that is affecting your child? Like, what are you seeing? All right? Kind of like if you go to the doctor and you have something going on, they're going to say, well, what kind of symptoms do you have? Well, the same thing here. What are you seeing that is a result of working memory? Okay? It's something you can easily look up as well. I have a scholar, research-based, written, it's amazing. It's not only explains working memory, but it goes into depth with all of, the research is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages of where the research comes from. Some of the research, we're talking about educational psychology, developmental psychology, the Journal of Memory, a longitudinal study, the Journal of Memory and Language. We're talking some huge psychology review. What else? The Journal of Cognitive Development and Neuroscience. A neuro region of abstract working memory, and the Journal of Cognitive Neuroscience. That's an interesting one. It talks about the focus of attention as observed in visual working memory tasks and making sense of competing claims, and that's from Neuropsychologica. There's just so much research that goes behind working memory because it affects everything. So go into detail into your IEPs and tell me what you come up with. We're going to talk more about this tomorrow and how it is going to impact them in the educational setting. So I told you what it impacts today. We're going to talk tomorrow about how it affects them, what you'll start seeing. Okay? So don't forget, post a 1 below if it's your first through third time catching me live. Post a 2 below if you're an oldie but goodie. Make sure to say hello and join the group if you haven't already. Go to the search bar and just do Autism Mama Rock the IEP group and join the group. It's a great group. All right, so Cindy, hello. Oh my gosh, it's been forever, girl. Jessica, hello. My child has working memory issues. I need to PM you. Of course, go ahead. Erin says costs more money to hire qualified people. Yes, it does. Oh, by the way, yesterday was Erin's birthday. So everybody say happy birthday to Erin. I've heard schools telling parents around here we haven't seen any forward progress with this. Stand still. There is nothing more we can do. If you want results, move to San Diego. Are you always beautiful, dang girl? Thank you. Then we have, hey, Lori. And then we have Kim. Hello. And Kristen and Lily. Lily, haven't you been on here before? So you have like one more time and then you're oldie but goodie, right? And then we have Erin, Christina, and Tess. All right. Okay. So look into your IEPs, okay? Look into them. Hi, Eileen. How are you? Hey, Michelle. Hey, Lindsay. Hey, Cindy. All right. We have Cindy K and so we have 2 Cindys on here. Awesome. All right, guys. Sounds good. All right. Hey, we have like a Cindy K Pugh and then we have a Cindy K Rhodes. That's crazy. Look at that, how close that is. All right, that's kind of crazy. Hi, KJ. How are you? All right. And I got to call you, Lori. We got to chat. All right, guys. So hopefully you have a wonderful Wednesday evening. And go look at your IEPs and your evaluations. I'm telling you, if your child has working memory issues, we got to get to the bottom of it. And I'm going to try to help you do that tomorrow, where we're going to talk about some of the cognitive difficulties. We're going to talk about some of the reading difficulties. We're going to talk about some of the math difficulties and the written expression difficulties. It's going to be a long live tomorrow, okay? I know the other day I did a long one. It was like an hour and 20 minutes. You're getting another long one tomorrow, okay? So we're going to really talk about that, all right? Because it's a big issue happening right now. And working memory is big. It's big, all right? It's going to affect your child in all areas of education. And I want you, and it's able to be helped. It's able to improve. There's so much that can happen to improve this that it's super frustrating that these things aren't being done ASAP, that schools aren't coming to you or calling you or emailing you and saying, hey, this is what we're going to provide because he's showing working memory issues and we want to get this and address it right away so that it doesn't get worse and there's no regression. Why can't schools do that? Please, can you please do that? I'm begging you. So that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. Oh, Eileen, I think I'm going to go live around 8:30. All right? So it'll be like 8:30. I'll post like about, 10 minutes, 15 minutes before I go live. So make sure you click notifications above so you know when I go live. Even if you can't catch me live, at least you know I went live so you can come back and watch the replay. So click notifications above so that you then get an alert that I went live, and then you can watch it live or you can watch the replay and then you know that I had gone live. So I think it's something that's going to be really important for you to hear. I think that a lot of children struggle with this, and it's one, I don't want to say it's easy to fix, But I want to say there's simple things that can be done. And if they were done, your child would improve. All right? Because the science and the research says so. So fight for the things that need to happen. Fight for the things that are going to help your child progress. And really advocate for them to do the right thing and to provide XYZ to your child because your child has these deficits, you know, and the more research-based information you know and have, that's all you need. Then it's about just being continuous and continuous and being that, you know, fly that annoys the heck out of you and you keep swatting at it. I talk about this all the time because have you ever like it's hot outside and you have a fly and you're just smacking at it? That's the type of person you want to be in an IEP meeting because you want to make sure that things get resolved. You want to make sure that doesn't mean it's always going to get resolved the first time. It doesn't mean that it's a one-all be-all. But are you going to get there? 100%. And you just don't stop. You be relentless so that you can get your child what is needed and appropriate. And I know it's one of those things where, I don't know. How do you get? I'll tell you how I feel. All right. I get very frustrated and I'm passionate, as you guys know. You can tell with my voice. My voice will go up and down the more frustrated I get. And it's important to understand that the frustration comes from the constant having to fight. Why do we have to put ourselves through so much anguish to simply get what our child needs? I don't get it. It's super frustrating. And so that's where the frustration comes from. That's where the aggravation comes from. So it's important to just keep in mind that you have to be relentless. It's not a rude thing to do. It's not something that shouldn't be done. You can't look at how it's going to be envisioned or how it's going to be interpreted. They don't care when they say no, that your child can't have whatever it is that they need because you're fighting for, what's appropriate, what's scientifically based in regards to improving working memory or improving anything else for that fact. So you have to solely focus on what your child's going to improve on, what's going to help them make progress, and what it is you need to do to make sure that that happens. And everything else is minor. Okay? So keep that in mind. Go look at your evaluations. Go look at your IEPs. Come back tomorrow at about 8:15, and we're going to talk in detail about all the different aspects of working memory and how it's going to affect your child if it continues to not be addressed. Okay? So come back tomorrow. Hey, Christina. Hopefully I see you tomorrow, Aline. And I will talk to you guys very soon. And go do that homework. I want to know, you should know, what working memory issues does your child have? What are they saying? What are those evaluations saying? All right? If you don't understand what they're saying, pull them out and post numbers tomorrow. Okay? And then we can talk about that. All right? Because I know what the numbers are. So if your child had, just say hypothetically, that they had the Wyatt, then you can say, okay, under the standard score for working memory, my child scored a 52. Then I will be able to help you. And then it's going to say significantly low or whatever it's going to say. So then we can talk about that, okay? Of understanding, okay, what does that number mean? What is your child's percentile? That should be on your evaluation. What is their percentile? What is their standard score? All right? And then is that solely their ability, or is it their ability compared to other children within that grade level? That's important to know and ask your evaluators. Is it solely on your child and where they are, or is it where your child is percentile wise? Percentile really means where they score against everybody else, or the average. Okay? So you want to be able to see how is that evaluation being measured, okay? And being able to focus on that, all right? I have a personal preference. You may have a personal preference of what type of evaluation is more proficient or more important, or is one more important than the other. And that's for another day. But let's solely focus on these 3 areas where your child will suffer educationally if the working memory issues, concerns, deficits, okay, are ongoing and consistently are not supported, and the student is just going to kind of spiral because the issues are not being addressed. All right, so we'll talk more about that tomorrow, and I will see you guys soon. And definitely PM me if you want to, okay? I'll talk to you soon. Bye.